Hello and welcome to the Michael Mamas Show. I'm your host, Michael Mamas, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Someshwara Temple in the mountains of western North Carolina. Sunny day today, but like most of the nation, boy, we had some cold weather past couple days. But anyway, the worst of it, I think, is over now. People are getting up and down the mountain, no trouble with the ice and snow. Pretty much cleared. If people drive carefully, they're fine, And so I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, regardless of creed. And in a nutshell, I guess that what that message would entail is, really what this podcast is about. There's a lot going on in the world today. I'd like to include certain comments about current events, but it's Christmas Day, so I'm going to hold off on that. And we'll include those comments probably in next week's blog. So the title of this podcast, Enchantment's Gift. And it's a Christmas message. And so it really speaks to the nature of enchantment, and the implications, just how far that goes, what it really means, particularly on the deeper levels, and also how we can kind of compromise or undermine our own willingness to experience enchantment, and how that applies to all holiday seasons, not just Christmas. I think it's pretty well known that, a lot of people dread getting together with the family during the holiday season. A lot of emotions get stirred up. There's polarization for different reasons. There could be different intellectual perspectives on, in case of Christianity, on Jesus and who he was, and even the very idea of resurrection. And a lot of people just find that far-fetched. And so we, again, just like in everything else in life, particularly though on the holiday season and the Christmas time, we don't want to get caught up in those surface things, though people do tend to do that. It's a time really to look deeper, to look at the depth of our souls, and to find the enchantment there. And it's not just enchantment with, again, superficial concepts or perspectives or attitudes, or the inability to feel enchanted because of our polarizations. But see, the idea is, again, there's this underlying basis of existence. It's that one thing that is the source of everything, and it's the depth of our being. It's something we all sense inside of us, and we treasure it. It's our life force. There's something there. And it's connected with a certain sense of morality, a certain sense of universality. And different religions, call it by different things. Atheists may just call it a sense of unity or a sense of morality, or the Christians might call it the Christ spirit. In the Vedic tradition, it's referred to as Chaitanya. In modern physics, it's the unified field. And the thing is that enlivening that sense, embracing, but in a very deep way, what resting into, living from that place is essential to life. Without it, our lives become biased and even sterile on the surface levels. And to the extent that we compromise or undermine things that are so precious to us. And, taking family as an example, family is blood, there's a connection there. and the blood goes so deep into the soul. It's a life's force. Uh, the homeopathic notion of it, the even now, with DNA analysis and all that, the interconnection that's there between family members, it's so powerful and so strong and so real and so lasting. Even people who were adopted as infants and never knew their parents, there's still a connection there that drives them to perhaps find their birth parents, or there's a feeling there that goes beyond a notion, beyond a concept. And again, if there's conflict or polarization in the family, different beliefs about Christianity, for example, oh, how can you believe that there was a virgin birth and all this stuff? Real Christianity, the essence of Christianity, goes so far beyond that, and it talks about that level of enchantment. Enchantment means that feeling that goes along with the wonder, the awe, the love of that sense we have of the depth of our being, the Chaitanya value, the Christ value, if you will, and how it is enlivened even in our connection with family members. And we could say, of course, there's many components to it, but one very real component to it is the very physiology and how physiologies of family members resonate with one another purely by virtue of the blood. You can even look at it that way, as a biological thing, if you insist upon it. But the thing is, embracing that, it becomes a root to life. It becomes a source of life. And it's tragic then if we allow that to be undermined, particularly on the holidays, but all year long, or maybe a better way to say it, to not allow that to be re-enlivened and re-embraced and re-nourished on Christmas time or the holiday season of your choice. And the thing is, then it also creates a group dynamic. It creates, even within a country, a nation, different nations are predominantly one religion or another. Hinduism is something, 80% of the people in India are Hindu. In the United States, when surveys are done, 70% of the people consider themselves to be Christian. In Germany, I think it's about the same, 70%. And Muslim countries, of course, it's different. But the thing is, that group consciousness creates a feeling. And that feeling is so connected with the enchantment, with the wonder, with the awe, with the enlivenment of that divinity, if we can use that word, that dwells within individuals. And it's to the point where it's so powerful. I remember when I was in India and also in the Philippines and different countries I was in, whatever the predominant religion was, on the holidays, you could feel that in the streets. And it was beautiful. You could feel that in stores you walked into, anywhere you went. And certainly when I was in India, it wasn't like, well, why isn't Christianity getting equal time? That kind of a thing. Or, in the United States, I don't really believe in the virgin birth, for example. And so why are we allowing them to put up these displays of the birth of Christ and all that in front of churches? And it's wrong. And they're missing the point completely. I understand the perspective. I do. But it's not the point. And it undermines the power of that communion among people and the value of that, the power of that, the gift that embracing of that enchantment offers not only to individuals, not only to families, but to nations. And when honored and celebrated as unity within difference, then even between nations of different religions on their holidays. And it doesn't mean that we have to give equal time to all these different religions. That's never going to happen anyway. It's just not. There are too many religions, for goodness sake. And so if you're in a country, if you're in a nation where the predominant religion is not consistent with your religious beliefs, that's called respect isn't even strong enough word. It's an honoring of the integrity of that culture and the value that however it is they connect with that underlying basis in that nation, and however powerful it becomes because so many of the people there are of the same religion, you see. And so it feeds the root of life. It nourishes, it waters the root of life in all those different nations. And if we can honor that, even when we're in nations that don't celebrate our chosen religion, it's a great thing. If you look at the history of Christianity, it speaks to the history of all religions. Because really, right in the beginnings of Christianity, there became a division. And you see this on the television programs around Christmas time, but they talk about the Gnostics and the Orthodox, and how the Gnostics, they went a different direction where we could say they were more intellectually oriented, more conceptually oriented. It was more consistent with the secret knowledge that even Christ referenced. But it was a knowledge back in those times that was only given to, certain individuals. It wasn't for the public at large. And so then the Orthodox component of Christianity took over and suppressed the Gnostics to the point where the Gnostics were even taking their secret doctrines, their writings and that, and burying them in jars, hiding them in places, because if they were found, they would be destroyed. And it's interesting how that happens not just between religions, but also factions of the same religion. And again, it goes back to this idea of celebrating diversity within the midst of unity. And even in our families, in our homes, if there are conflicts and we get together for the holidays, let's learn to even more so celebrate unity within diversity. And it's not oblivion. It's an embracing of the deeper value. And in case of family, it's the blood connection, Now, some people talk about Christianity and faith in Christianity and how it has to mean, you have to believe in the virgin birth, or you have to believe Jesus was the Son of God, and then people get into debates about that and creates a polarization. And two things there. One, we can cultivate deeper intellectual understandings of what it means that Christ was the only begotten Son. And even the idea of virgin birth, and it's not okay to get so caught up in that it becomes a condition to whether or not you accept Christianity or whether or not you are a Christian. Some people would say that, oh, well, if there is such a thing as UFOs, and there are other species existing on other planets, and we find that out, it's going to compromise Christianity. Ridiculous. It's going to expand our understanding of what Christianity is really about and what it really means. It would make it something more beautiful in my mind, not less. So all these things get resolved if we can just cultivate a different understanding. And then the whole notion of kindness, I've heard some people say that really the message of Christmas is kindness. Well, I get that, and kindness is so important, and it's something so rare because as I've said in other podcasts, this is a time that's predominated by Agni, by fire. And so people have a tendency to be, judgmental or pushy or have their perspective, and to the point where it becomes, kind of nasty. So families become divided, which is a crisis, and one that cuts to the very depth of a person's being, because if for no other reason than it's physiological, as I just talked about it a minute ago. But kindness, they did a survey of people, not real young adults, middle age perhaps and older. And they said, in looking for a spouse, what is the most important thing to look for in finding, a good spouse? And the number one answer by far was one word: kindness. Kindness is essential. Kindness can be cultivated. And one of the keys to real kindness, not just putting on a mask of kindness, but really feeling it, is by going deeper, feeling into that unity value, be it with family, be it with culture, be it with nation, be it with the globe. And it's not a function of intellectual perspective so much as it's a state of being, a state of feeling. Feelings lie deeper than thoughts. You can justify anything with intellect, with thoughts, but it's how we feel about those different thoughts that makes the difference as to what thoughts we accept and which thoughts we reject. But feeling is something more fundamental that can embrace contradictory thoughts and create union among people with different philosophies, religions, creeds. You see? I saw a nice quote by Clarence Thomas. He said, "Good manners will open doors that the best education cannot." It's a beautiful comment, something to think about. Kindness, dignity. So many words you could assign to that quote. Beautiful quote. So in closing here, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. And never underestimate the potential of enchantment, of love. Love is enchantment. Enchantment is love. Once embraced, enchantment heals all levels of life: individual, family, community, nations, and global. So thanks for listening, and Merry Christmas to everyone.